succeed.
Natan Sharansky was a symbol of the refuseniks, Soviet Jews who were persecuted for wanting to immigrate to Israel. Strange role for someone who grew up with only a vague notion of being Jewish.
The first part of my life, when I was a loyal Soviet citizen through all my childhood and young years as a student, the only Jewish thing which existed in my life was anti-Semitism. Because in fact, we knew nothing about our religion, about our tradition, about our history. We were assimilated by force. But we knew that we are Jews, that there are restrictions, that there are prejudices, that there are difficulties in making career. You felt it in everyday life in the streets. And the only way that you saw was to escape by running away to the ivory tower of science, of arts, of chess, to become the best in your profession. And maybe as a result, people will forget or will not take too seriously your Jewishness, and you'll be more or less become the person of the world. What really changed was 1967, the Six-Day War. This message, the Temple Mount in our hands. I have no idea what Temple Mount is. In fact, as majority of my friends. But at the same time, you see how the situation is changing, how the people around you, anti-Semites near you, maybe hate you, treat you with the same hatred, but definitely with more respect. They connect you with that state. In fact, we became Zionists before we became Jews. Then we decided that we have to learn to find out what it means. What is the meaning of this word Jewish? When KGB came to arrest me later, they found on the wall of my apartment the picture of Yoni Netanyahu, because that was such a powerful message that there is now a country which is responsible, and people who are responsible for every Jew in the world.
These efforts soon attracted the attention of the KGB, forever changing Sharansky's life.
You are fired for your job, your apartment can be searched, KGB tells will be following you, you can be called any moment for interrogations. Many friends will be afraid their name will be mentioned in your telephone book. And so. But in fact, with all these changes, you're becoming a free person. I was in the small but very active group of those who were organizing demonstrations, who were going in the center of the Red Square, some other central place in Moscow. And I became very quickly the unofficial spokesman of this movement. At the same time, I became an official spokesman of human rights movement in the Soviet Union. I became close to Andrei Sakharov. I was helping him to write his very important statements and letters, and what's more important, to deliver them to the foreign press, to the West. And there were many people on both sides who saw some kind of contradiction. How you can be at the same time a Zionist, a Jewish activist, and the activist of human rights movement. Not only there is no contradiction, that one depends on the other. We went back to our shtetl. We went back to our people. We went back to our roots, to our history. Started fighting for our narrow so-called cause. And as a result, not only the result of our struggle was that more than 1 million Jews became free, but all the Soviet Union became free. All the world became free and more secure.
What qualities does one need to be a successful dissident, to take on the entire Soviet Union?
Even in the punishing cell, even in the absolute isolation, even under big pressures of the regime, to keep your inner freedom alive. And I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days in the punishing cell, where there is
Solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement is spent years, but punishing cell, that special cell, very small, very cold, and they take away all the warm clothes, used to destroy our will. In fact, all what the Soviet authorities wanted us to say that they are right and we are wrong. That's all. And you have to remind yourself all the time why you should not do it. So you have to see big picture, all the time to see that it's not simply a small punishing cell, that it is part of great historical struggle. On the other hand, it's very important not to take this reality seriously, to be able to laugh, to show to these KGB guys all the time how absurd it is, that they are the real slaves, that you can say whatever you think, and they cannot. And of course, to use whatever talents you have. For me, there were two great talents of my life. First, I loved chess, and I
I think you're very good at it. You beat the world champion Garry Kasparov.
In order to do it, I played thousands and thousands and thousands of chess games in my head with myself while being in punishing cell. So, and you're playing all the time, and I'm winning all the time. So you're proving.
You're also
well, it depends on what side, from what side you look. And in every next game, you're improving the game of the previous. So you feel yourself intellectually more and more powerful. It was great, great thing. The other hobby of my life was I loved singing, but it's happened so that from my kindergarten, the moment I started singing, my nanny asked, well, you wait, you'll sing after. So nobody in the world enjoyed my singing except of me. So finally, in the punishing cell, came the day which nanny promised me, you'll sing later. So I was singing all the time. I have nothing to lose. I'm already 300 days in the punishing cell. What they can do to me?
So what song do you sing?
And I'm saying, all the world is a narrow bridge, and the most important thing is not to be afraid.
Here's your chance. We have a camera. You can sing
No, but they suffered, the prison guards. It also was fight of enjoyment. Why should I make Jewish world to suffer?
One of the more touching aspects of your dissident career is your relationship with your wife, Avital. Can you elaborate about that?
We were not together for almost 12 years. She left next day after our underground chuppah, because it was impossible to do otherwise. And we thought we were separating for a few months, as it took 12 years. She is a very shy woman, but when she felt the greatness of the cause that she is fighting for, and when she really felt herself, not only being my voice, but representing the deep needs of our people, she was fighting.
So really, you were married for 12 years before you actually lived together?
It proves to be a good way, first to be divorced and then to be together. Because unfortunately, now at this age, I have more and more friends who after many years of living together are divorcing. And it's always a pity. But because maybe we first separated for 12 years, so that's why it never occurs to us that we need it. We already were separated, it's enough.
In 1986, following an international campaign spearheaded by his wife Avital, the Soviet authorities released Sharansky. He was taken to Gilinki Bridge in Berlin, where he crossed from east to west, but couldn't resist taunting his captors until the very last minute.
And then they tell me, they say, now you'll go from us to German officials. We don't want to go out of the airplane. You see that car? Go out of the airplane and go straight. Agreed? And the one, he said, agreed. I said, what? For all these years, I never agreed with KGB. In fact, it was like a matter of principle that whatever they say, I'll do. I never agreed with you. I will agree. You tell me to go straight, I'll go zigzags. But I went out of the airplane, as I promised. I went to that car with zigzag. But then, as to the bridge, it was there it's already American ambassador took. He said, you see this line, that is the border. And here, when I saw the border, I jumped. And what happened when I jumped? In fact, they gave me all the civil clothes, but they couldn't give me a belt because I was still a prisoner. So everything was huge on me. They gave me some rope. And this rope was keeping my pants. So when I jumped, this rope
opened
and I had to catch my pants at the last moment. So each time when I'm asked, what was your first thought when you entered the free world after 12 years, after 9 years of prison and all this stuff? So my first thought was how not to lose my pants.
Right.